Hello there, and welcome to 7 tips for my new underground primal build in Age of Wonders 4. In this video, I will introduce in 7 steps everything this build is working with, and I hope that this will be something you want to use or something you want to adapt, because these videos are more meant like a recipe, so nothing is too much set in stone. If you want to change something, or if you feel like you could do something even better than me, go on, let me know in the comment section. I'm all ears. So, first up, let's start with number 1, the summary and the intro of this build. We're playing here an underground animal swarm build. So we're using lots of animals, lots of summonable stuff, and obviously we're running it underground, and we picked up the primal culture that thrives underground. Overall, you have high qualities in bringing up cheap, evolvable armies that, if they survive, turn into very, very powerful armies, and if they die, they weren't too costly to begin with, and they get harder and harder to kill the longer your build goes on. You have a potent late game, because your higher tier tomes make real beasts out of those evolved units, and you gain better and better access to units of the higher tier along the way. So let's get started with number 2 of the video and talk about the racial and cultural traits for this build. So I picked up on the trade end strong because I personally think this is one of the most enjoyable little things on the primal side, because this gives you that little extra oomph that you need that you usually have to pick up from unit enchantments. Since our build doesn't have too many loopholes where we could fit them in, this helps your cultural roster out and having a bit more of a punch. Doesn't make your animals stronger though. And the other thing, Dread Spider mounts. More of a thematic pick. It is quite nice, but it doesn't scale too good because we don't have too many high tier animal units in our build, cavalry units, and therefore the web ability is applied on your tier 1 shields and your tier 2 supporters, which isn't the best thing, but also not the worst, because it gives you a very, very strong early, because tier 1 shields with that web ability, they're really powerful. Anyways, that's a flexible slot. Pick whatever you like if you don't want to go for the spiders. Culture-wise, I went for the tunneling spider because it is the best thing you can go if you want to underground. You start underground, you have the synergy with mushroom forests with extra knowledge, and yeah, it's just the best thing if you want to play underground and primal that you can go for. I went for mana channelers, which gives your summoning spells less cost. It's just a no-brainer, so good for the primal culture in general, can only recommend. And druidic terraformers for more terraforming power on one end, and the other end is that on the higher levels of the build we gain access to higher level elementals, and here you gain a nice unit upkeep reduction that is also very, very useful. Flexible slot though. If you want to change anything, I would recommend to put out druidic terraformers and keep mana channelers, but it's up to you. So moving on to number 3, the tomes of a build. So first up, we're starting on tier 1 with the Tome of Beasts and Evolution combo. Which one you pick first is up to you. I personally prefer Beasts. Evolution would work too though. So Beasts brings you access to animals, and Wildlife Sanctuary brings you access to recruitable animals, so you can produce them either in the city or recruit them via mana on the battlefield. These are later enhanced via Evolution Tome. At the beginning, it's just a nice plethora of cheap troops. Marcus Prey is a spell that remains potent the entire game long. It is very, very cheap and very strong for what it does. Perfectly used for tier 3 and larger troops to take them down faster. And Call of the Wild and Animal Kinship give you just more synergy with animals in general. You know, you can buff your cavalry and animals, and you get more power when standing next to animals. The Wild Speaker, well, I don't need to say much. More animal, more buff for animal. No healer, though. A little bit sad, but we can't fix the healing elsewhere. Other part here is Tome of Evolution. Obviously, we're mainly after Youthful Rejuvenation and Rapid Evolution enchantment to boost our evolution gameplay. There's really, really powerful animals out there, and yeah, it's just amazing what you can do with these, especially when you can recruit what you want to have. Spiders, worms, whatever you want, they all have very, very powerful tier 3 forms, and this is how we get them easily. But the Slither Hatchling and the Wyvern Fledgling are also very nice animals for your roster if you want to use them. And nothing bad about them, nothing at all. We have a high synergy with that. So this book ends up with Draconic Vitality, which I personally love for making our higher tier cultural roster more potent. Tier 2 comes, and with that, we went into Dungeon Depths. Dungeon Depths allows you to utilize your underground area so much better. I recommend to go for Underground Vault and the Raiders of the Deep first, because this gives you fighting power and this gives you income. Income is one of the things that I personally had the most trouble in the early game with, so the Underground Vault really helps. Also, pick up the Dungeoneering Conclave as quick as possible in your cities, as this gives you a little bit of extra knowledge, and the Dungeon Trade, which makes your cities just more productive. At the end of the day, the Clayforge gives us tier 3 troops, rebirthing golem type troops. We don't have the biggest synergy, but they're really cool. They're tier 3 and they can fill up some slots. After that, we go Famists to make all of our supporters into healers. You know, we have too many supporters who can't heal or can't heal sufficiently. Fey Blessing fixes that. You also gain the Mistling, which is one hell of a skirmisher, hard to kill, and has a really, really nasty ranged attack, which is usable every turn. Love these guys. They also pack quite a punch, and all the other spells here make your units harder to kill and gives you that survivability that you want to have, and everything in there synergizes also quite nicely with your animals one way or another. And the Fey Water Pond, since mushroom forests are at the end of the day also forests, this is also quite nicely. Correct me if I stand wrong there, but as far as I know, they're forests like all other forests too. Now, with tier 3 you have plenty of options. One option that I personally see as a must-have is Vigor. With Vigor, you gain bigger animals, stronger animals, and access to spammy animals. Supergrowth is very, very nice for your culture as well. Makes your culture roster more beefy and brawny, just what you need. It's also very powerful on your tier 3 spears, having so many retaliation attacks and so many HP. It's really nice. The other tier 3 that I would recommend at that point is, if you have access to it, Geomancy. Geomancy brings you elementals, reminding you on the Druidic Terraforming trait, Geomancers, which have nice AoE CC and some really nice mutations that you can go for. Alternatively, you can go also for Cycles, which is an amazing book by itself. Projectiles of Decay do a good job here, the Druid of the Cycle does a good job, and Diffuse Health and Parting Gifts gives you also nice sustainability. Or go for dragons, which are also very, very potent. Due to the evolving book, we have good access to the things here too. After that, tier 4, go for Paradise and Wherever You Please. I strongly recommend Paradise though, because it makes your people so much more beefy, your city so much more stable and happier. It is just a nice thing. After that, well, stick to the nature path, or side branch into Stormborn or something like that. The core of your build is done until then. Now, number 4, Armies in Combat. So, early on, I would recommend not to fall back too much on your cultural tier 1 troops, because they get outshadowed by all the animals that we got. Evolvable animals are the best friends that you can get. At the beginning of the game, though, they are a little bit hard to get, but in a nutshell, start recruiting those scouts and try to have as many animals as possible and get your troops culture-wise focused on the tier 2 Wild Speakers, Animists, and Primal Chargers. Primal Chargers clear up the many low-tier troops with Cleaving Charge quite nicely. Let them run in and use that and watch the tier 1 units die. And the Ancestral Warden is your high-tier frontliner if you don't have any animals available. These guys are really very powerful, mobile, and can be put in wherever you need it. Your combat behavior is very straightforward. You just summon a crap ton of things and then you go on in and then you fight. The wonderful thing about that is this build works without any bigger sense of formation or strict builds because of the chaotic nature of all of our tools. The most important thing, though, is bring animists and wild callers, bring enough animals, and play around that. Try to, no, not you guys. Try to keep your supporters free. So basically, a hunker down formation where you keep your troops together and you attack whatever is sitting on your supporters, and then you move forward from that. It's a very simple thing, and your basic idea here is to keep your low tier units alive until they evolve, and if they don't stay alive for that, you just replace them. In the beginning of the game, your combat is the weakest, therefore play it careful and rack up a nice banner or two before you go for bigger things. The later the game goes and the higher tier your troops, the easier this becomes. You are really the weakest early on. Moving on to number 5, cities and Imperium. So as you see here, I have a pretty nice widespread little city assortment here together, and I can only recommend to go for a widespread city network underground. Just pick up whatever you can, because you are so good at keeping your city stable. Wherever you find a den for your totem animal, plot down a city. If you find some place where there's too many valuable resources to pass by, put down a city. Altogether, you want a lot of cities because the culture that you play is very good at that. And you have so many benefits from underground areas, so wherever you can dig out a larger free space, go for it. It's really very, very important. You want to cultivate your cities as quick as you can towards knowledge income, because this is one of the things where we want to go as quick as possible, as per usual. What's quite interesting about this build here is that we can utilize force right from the get-go, because the woodcarver's workshop is boosted by the forester and not by the farmer, so we have much more productive cities right from the get-go. But beyond that, yeah, stay on the knowledge production path and keep expanding your cities and keep spamming low tier troops. If you don't have enough mana to summon the animals, which come very, very cheap for you, then you can always put down one more of these wildlife things. Keep forgetting their names. The wildlife sanctuaries to just recruit yourself more troops. And as soon as you have it available, put down a dungeoneering conclave as quick as possible. Doubles down as a free research post, which is really nice. Imperium-wise, you have access to lots of nature, which is very, very nice. You can make your cities very big, and you can make your cities grow fast. And by all means, that Spirit Wolf trait here is amazing for this build. It comes back if it should die, and it's a very, very powerful fighter. But altogether, we benefit from this branch here a lot. You can also, with the few things of Astral that we got, get into the lowered cost of research things, which is also very powerful. Sadly, we don't have too many side branches. This is a very nature-focused build, so its Imperium qualities are a little bit limited. Number 6, the heroes of this build. So I went here in with a giant leader. Rock Giant is very good for underground. Class-wise, I went for Spellblade. I would strongly recommend any big damage dealing hero class for this build, because you lack exactly that at the beginning, and heroes at level 2 or 3 already have a majestic amount of damage available. And that is just very, very nice to have. So Spellblade, Mage, Fighter, I personally see these all quite nicely working. I think Giant is good, but you could also go for Dragon, or I think a Champion should work as well, with a bigger focus on the free cities. There's plenty of options, but I think Giant and Dragon have a really nice thematic fit and are fun to play. But the verdict remains, we have a need for destructive power, and fill it with heroes. It really helps a ton. And number 7, lastly, strategizing. So like I already said, expanding is very important. At the beginning of the game, spread out your troops, dig out as much as possible, and find those spots where you can build cities. Don't build any cities at the surface. They are much worse than anything that we can build downstairs. When you have set up your cities, depending on your difficulty level, it is very important to rack up troops. I haven't done so in this run, and this is really something that bothered me in this one. You have very cheap access to nice troops, cheap troops. It is no shame to spam out a banner of Slither hatchlings that later down the road evolve. I would, like I said, try to keep the amount of Primal Daughters and Protectors low, because they don't have as much use. This is a animal based build, and our cultural troops, the best that we can put out, are tier 2 plus. We want animals. Therefore, focus your cities around two things: a lot of forests, a lot of room. These are the two things that you really want to have, because underground cities need some place to grow. And underground entrances must be protected well. Keep that in mind too when you are expanding your empire. Everywhere where there is a underground entrance, there should be also a bit of an army. Underground empires manage themselves a little bit differently than others, and yeah, that's something I really have to point out. Roads and teleporter provinces also help a lot in keeping your empire safe. I think the best way to get yourself going is to get your cities down, provide ample supply of development there, and at the same time get yourself an exploration army together, two banners of things that can evolve, and start exploring the world. From that point on, start building up a serious armor in the backhand, tier 2 plus things that can defend your hometown, and keep going from there on. Your build is very, very strong and evolving forward. And the most important thing that I think you have to keep an eye out here is that when you pick up low tier things, always try to focus low tier things that evolve into something powerful, because you have so many options, and this is one of the real powerful things about this build. Yeah, I think that rounds it up. Let me know what you think. There's plenty of more to say, but I don't want to overbloat the video. I hope this helped you out. Leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, consider checking out the description box. Feel free to support the channel via YouTube channel membership or the donation links downstairs. Whatever you might do, I will say thanks for that. And a big thanks to all of you who already support the channel. And a big, big thanks for you right here, right now, spending your time until the video's end. Thanks for that. Hope you had a great time, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.